Being mindful is the practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened or complete awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, or experiences on a moment-to-moment basis, which can be extremely important while trying to understand and learn more about mental health. So let me welcome you to Mindful Thoughts. My name is Deloris, and I feel like my mission in life is to help break down those barriers around mental wellness by sharing personal stories, tips, and confessions of mental health to help us shine a light on mental wellness. So what are we waiting for? Let's dive in. Today I want to talk about why we feel the need to push ourselves until we're exhausted instead of just resting like we should. Now, this happened to me this last Wednesday. We ended up not going to work because we had personal things we need to take care of. And I had put on my list of things that I need to do and mapped out what my Wednesday needed to do. I needed to, look over my podcast episodes, and I needed to edit them and do all this stuff. But mentally I was exhausted, and I didn't have that motivation to do that. And a lot of the times when we don't have that motivation and mentally we just don't feel like we have the energy to do something, we usually don't do it. But I feel like there are so many of us who are scared to take that rest day. So on Wednesday I told myself mentally I'm not in that headspace to work, and I just don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. But then as the day went on, I almost felt upset with myself or guilty that I didn't do the work that I said I was going to do. And I kept telling myself, okay, in the next hour I'll get up and I'll do the work and I'll get it done. But then I had this thought that I'm why do I feel this way? Why is it that I will push myself on the days when I don't feel like it, or mentally when I'm not in that right headspace? I feel like I have to keep pushing myself, and when I don't push myself or when I decide to take that rest, I punish myself for doing so. Now, every week on Sundays, I do a rest day. It's a mental health day, it's a self-care day, it's a self-love day, it's the day to not be on social media. I try to avoid looking at Instagram and Facebook, and I don't go on it, and I try to just rest. I do things that bring joy to my heart. I watch movies with Ken, or I read hours upon hours of my book, and I can watch YouTube and stuff like that. And sometimes I've even tried to back off of watching YouTube, because to me that's consuming social media. And even though it's not social media, and in a way it is, but I tell myself I'm taking a day just to do what I want to do, play the Switch, my Wii Switch. I'll sit down and I'll play that for hours, just something that I want to do to detox from the week before stress and all the stuff that I know my mind is going on for the next week. So this is a day just to focus on me. But when I take those rest days during the week, I just feel like there's something wrong with that. And I don't know, and I feel like there might be a lot of people that feel that way, but how many of us are dealing with a mental health illness? And we know when those feelings come up, for me with my depression, my anxiety, when I have those bad days and when I'm feeling it all, I know that no matter what I had on my list, I'm not going to do. But why is it that when I decide that I'm not going to do it, I feel guilty for not doing it? I punish myself for not doing what I told myself I was going to do. And I just think that we are so scared to rest. We're so scared to not keep going and not to stop creating and to take that minute just to be with ourselves. And mentally, we need to take the rest days. We need to schedule those days where we do nothing. We talk to nobody. We don't go anywhere. And we just do the things that we know we need to do for ourselves. We sit in a bath for an hour. Like I said, you read for hours. You play video games. You do anything that you personally just want to do to take care of yourself. And you need to allow yourself to do that. Nowadays, with people creating and content creating and creating videos and pushing themselves for their business, we're always going. And we forget that we need to make those times where we need to look at ourselves and say, what do I need? If I keep going, at some point I know I'm going to hit a burnout. And a lot of the times for me, it's not like a burnout because I push myself too much. It's more like a mental burnout because I've ignored my mental health for so long. And I just keep pushing and pushing myself that mentally my body just tells me that I'm exhausted. And like the days when my depression hits really hard, like I am just so tired and I'm so exhausted. And sometimes I feel like it's because I'm overworking myself all the time. You think you always need to be on. You always need to be posting. You always need to be on your stories. You always need to be creating because that's your way to connect with people. And you forget that you're one person you need to connect with is yourself. You need to be able to take care of yourself. So I'm encouraging anybody who listens to this episode to take that time and schedule that rest day. Schedule that rest time, even if you know that your life is busy and you have a busy schedule. I want you to look at your schedule, and even if your Monday through Sunday is just jam-packed with stuff, I want you to pick a day where from like 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., give yourself 2 hours to just do something you want to do. Give yourself time to sit on the couch and do nothing. That's the biggest thing too, is how I felt on Wednesday. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm doing nothing. I'm scrolling social media. I'm not working on the things I want to work on. Knowing that mentally I'm and physically not going to want to do it and not in that space to want to do it. But then sitting there saying you're lazy. You're just choosing to be lazy. You're choosing just not to do what you need to do instead of doing the things you told yourself you're going to do. And I'm like, why do I feel that way? Why? Why am I punishing myself for just taking that time to rest, taking that time to just, enjoy doing nothing? And I think that is for everybody. We are so strung up for keeping ourselves busy that when we decide to do nothing, we feel like there is something wrong with that. Like we should always be going. We should always, again, be creating. And we should always be working on our dreams and our goals and doing this and hanging out with friends and doing stuff with family members that, we forget that it's okay to do nothing. It's okay to just do nothing. And I've also seen so many creators lately that have talked about, taking a day where they do nothing, but then they feel so guilty for doing nothing because you feel like you always have to be on. You feel like you always have to be doing something. You always have to be moving. And I'm here to tell you, you don't. You need to take those times where you rest. You need to take those times where you do something for you. Even if that's a whole day where you wake up and you work out, you're doing something for you. If you go shopping and grocery shopping, but you're doing something for you. And I encourage you to take those rest days where you're off social media. Detox from social media once a week. I'm telling you, it is so good for me to not be attached to my phone. It's so good to not be staring at my phone all the time. You don't always have to know what's going on. You don't always have to be updated in everybody's life. It's okay to take a step back and do what you need to do for you. I recently talked to a new friend of mine about how on Sundays she tells people she's busy when she's not, because Sundays are her day for herself. So when people are like, oh, well, how's your week look and all this stuff? And she's like, okay, Monday through Saturday, you got to plan something. Come Sundays, I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I can't hang out with you. And really she doesn't, because she decided that is her day for her. That is her day to take care of herself, to do what she needs to do for her, to refresh herself for the week ahead. And I think that is just so good. So even if it's not a weekend day, if you have a day off during the week, let's say you have a Tuesday off or a Wednesday or Thursday, however your schedule looks, I encourage you to take that day just to rest. Just be with yourself. Do self-care. Do something for yourself. If you want to, take yourself out to lunch. Read a book while you're eating. Like, we need to learn to take care of ourselves. And when we learn to take care of ourselves, it gives us that moment where we can refresh ourselves. We can reset ourselves to accomplish whatever we have on our heart for the next week, or the next few days, or the next month. We plan out so much stuff in our lives, and we are like almost determined to keep ourselves busy because we feel like that's what we need to do. But I'm here to tell you it's not. Because again, you're going to burn yourself out the more you just keep pushing to do things you don't want to do, especially on those days when you know you physically or mentally are not in that space to do it. So then on those days when you're not in that space, you'll push yourself to do what you don't want to do because you think that's what you need to do for everybody else. And I think that's a problem too, is like we look at it as like we need to do this for everybody else. Everybody else needs to be involved in our life. Everybody else needs to see those posts. Like everybody, it's so focused on the world around us that we forget about us. What do you need? Right now, I want you to stop and think to yourself, what have I not done lately that I enjoy doing? What's one thing that I haven't done in months or even a year or maybe this week that I like doing? Maybe like it can be simple things as washing your face, dyeing your hair, playing with makeup. It's not something that has to be big. Going for a walk. I haven't gone for a walk in months. I think because it's a beautiful day outside, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to take the time and stop what I'm doing and just do it. Like, even if it's like cleaning. If you take a day off and you look at your house or your apartment or wherever you're living, you're like, I would really just like to clean a day. Do that. Like, whatever you want to do on your rest day is whatever you want to do. It's your choice. Like, we have the choice to choose every single day what we do. We have a choice if we're going to let ourselves rest. And I encourage you too that like if you have a day where you do nothing and you had stuff planned to do, don't punish yourself for doing nothing. And I had to teach myself that. I had to say to myself, like, I'm not going to be upset with myself for not doing the thing I told myself I was going to do. Like, it's okay to sit and do nothing. It's okay to play a video game for 4 or 5 hours. It's okay to read my book for 2 to 3 hours. Like, that's fine. It's okay to watch a movie after movie after movie and just enjoy the time that I'm spending with myself or with my fiance. And like, I need to do that for me. Because you need to do things that recenter you and the things you enjoy and the things that bring light into your life, because again, you will get so consumed with what needs to be done and what you need to work on that you'll forget to take care of yourself. And for your mental health, that's the biggest thing you need to do. You need to take care of yourself. So I encourage you to take a rest day. Like I said, it doesn't even have to be a full day. It can be a few hours in a day. But you need to take that time to reconnect with yourself, to figure out what you want to do and how you want to relax. What just makes you feel calm and collected. Even if it's a busy day and you take 5 to 10 minutes to meditate or to journal, you're still taking that period of time to reconnect with yourself and say, okay, what do I want? What do I need? Like, what is it that is going to make me centered with myself enough to keep going? Because a lot of times we give up on things because it's too much and we're going too hard, and we almost forget that like if we took that second to step back and say like, I'm going to take that day for myself. I'm going to take that day to take care of myself, to recenter myself, to do what I need to do, and then I'll keep going. Because that gives you enough time to reflect on yourself and feel centered with yourself. And it just gives you that time to relax. Rest is good, but somewhere along the line in this world, we became the people that said resting is not a good thing, doing nothing is not a good thing. Like, you have to keep going. You have to keep pushing, because that's where you get to make your dreams come true and those goals. And that's just not true. We need to take those times to rest. We need to take those times to refresh. And within this last year, I've just realized that so much is like, if I tell myself I'm taking off a Sunday and I'm not doing anything, I'm not talking to anybody, I'm not consuming any type of social media or anything that's going to make me feel negative or feel bad about what I'm doing, like, if I need to take that day and I'm telling myself I'm taking the day, like, I'm committing to doing that. And I think for even content creators and stuff like that, like, you need to take a day off. You need to take a day where you don't feel like you have to be on all the time, where you don't feel like you have to keep creating. Like, even on your days where you're resting, like, you could have a creative thing come up and write it down, but then don't look at it again. Because the moment you write it down, and the moment you start consuming that, that's what you're going to focus on more than just focusing on resting and taking care of yourself. So I'm not telling you that, like, if something pops up and you're like, oh my gosh, this would be a great idea, to ignore it. Write it down, but let it go. Put it on a notebook, close the notebook, and push it away and say, nope, that's a great idea, but I'm not doing that. I'm not creating. I'm not putting anything out there. I'm simply going to say, I have that thought, okay, that's great, but nope, that's not what I'm going to do today. So I encourage you to take that time for yourself. I encourage you to take that rest time, because physically and mentally, that is going to be such a blessing for you to have that moment where you're not worried about anything but yourself, taking care of your body and your mind and your soul, and recharging to keep going, because we need those moments. So, like always, I want you guys to remember that you are never alone and that I love you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. And you know what would be so amazing? If you shared, left a comment, and liked this episode. Any type of support and love for this podcast is going to help it grow more and more every day. I'm so grateful to have you here, and I'll talk to you again soon.